It's Friday, October 26, 2018. It's time for my Week 20 CFL predictions. We're 2 weeks away from finishing this season, folks. 2 weeks away. And the playoff picture is cloudy. Cloudy! There's a bunch of teams. There's two teams that are eliminated. Read this somewhere. Two teams are eliminated. Can't make the playoffs, right? Toronto, Montreal. Can't make it, no matter what. And everything else is still open. Everything else is, there's divisions that still need to be won. There's playoff positioning that still needs to happen. All of this stuff is still open. There's still a battle for the last playoff spot. BC has the fifth one, yet they're behind Winnipeg, but BC's clinched because I guess they have the tiebreaker over Edmonton, because if Edmonton and BC finish with the same record of 9-9, BC's won 2 out of 3 against Edmonton. I guess is how that all shakes out. I think, once again, the playoff picture for me, if it's cloudy for CFL veterans who know the sport really well, just think for a guy like me that's just coming into this going, what's a crossover? What the heck is that? It's like, well, I guess it's, so that you don't take 3 teams from the East, 3 teams from the West, and you end up with Toronto in the playoffs at, 4-14 or something. But, we're going to talk quickly about the playoff picture. Right now, it's still way up in the air. BC is locked in, no matter what. They can't be pushed out. Yet they have the same record as Winnipeg. So they have the same exact record as Winnipeg, but Winnipeg's not locked in. Winnipeg still has to win to get in, or they have to hope for an Edmonton loss, or Winnipeg can tie. Winnipeg's got to win one of its next 2 games. It's the best way to assure that you get in. If Winnipeg loses, it still keeps Edmonton in this whole thing. So there you go. Then you got Ottawa and Hamilton still battling for that top position. Hamilton lost its best wide receiver in Banks. That puts Masoli at a very big disadvantage. Ottawa beat them last week. But Ottawa could come back Hamilton could come back and maybe pull something off, being that this one's at home for them. But let's go through these games real quick. Playoff picture is a mess. Calgary could still lose the division. As dominant as Calgary was early in the season, they can still lose the division and finish in second place behind Saskatchewan. Calgary faces Winnipeg. Winnipeg needs this win. But like I've said before, just because you need the win doesn't mean you get the win. You still got to go out there and play. Calgary has not looked good lately. They have been on a little bit of a downturn. And I don't know if it's because they had such a big lead and they were looking like the dominant team that they've kind of just relaxed a little bit too much, and now it's hard for them to get the momentum back. Winnipeg is playing much better. Nichols is playing great. But right now, it's not looking. It's just not looking good right now for the Calgary Stampeders. And you're looking at Bo Levi Mitchell. He's lost a ton of wide receivers. In his wide receiving core has been decimated with injuries. I say Winnipeg wins this. They need it. They're playing better. Calgary has locked in a playoff position. They're gonna want to win this game. They're gonna play hard. I just don't think they have enough. They've given up 55 points in the last 2 games. Winnipeg, they can put up a lot of points too. I'll take Winnipeg in this game. We'll move on to Ottawa at Hamilton. That would also get Winnipeg in the playoffs. That would guarantee them a playoff spots, and it would eliminate Edmonton. This is the thing that sucks for Edmonton. Edmonton's at home this week. They cannot do anything to help themselves at all this week. They just have to hope that Calgary beats Winnipeg so that they can at least have something to do next week and maybe still play for a spot to get in. Ottawa at Hamilton. Hamilton's got a lot of injuries. Hamilton's getting 4.5 versus Ottawa. This is in Hamilton, but the Ticats lost Banks. That's Masoli's number 1 weapon. They're going to have to run the ball a little bit more because late in the season we're starting to see the injuries piling up, and it's piling up to wide receivers. The weirdest thing, it's really piling up on wide receivers. Most of these teams starting quarterbacks they're banged up, but they're able to play. But they don't have anybody to throw the ball to. I don't know why Hamilton's getting the 4.5. I'm going to take Ottawa. I'm going to take Ottawa to clinch the division. Hamilton will get second place, and the seeding there will finish itself. Now you got BC at Saskatchewan. If Saskatchewan wins, they still have a chance to win the division unless Calgary wins. The thing is, we'll know more after today. We will. Because if Calgary loses, that means Saskatchewan really still has something to play for. They can still play for that number one spot. They do still have to play to get second place. They can lose second place in the division if they let themselves slide. Calero's playing well. Saskatchewan as a team is playing well. BC's won 6 out of 7. They're playing extremely well, but BC is locked in. Not much they can do in seeding. I think they can get as high as third, but I don't think they can get up to second. Maybe they can, but I think they're going to need a lot of help. I think they need Winnipeg to lose a game. BC has to win both of its games, and then Saskatchewan, I think, has to lose both of its games. But don't quote me on that. Like I said, cloudy. It's a cloudy picture, and it's tough to figure out. I'm sure the CFL experts are probably having a tough time going through all the scenarios that can happen. But BC at Saskatchewan, you got Lele going up against Caleros. This is in Saskatchewan. I will take Saskatchewan. BC is a beast at home, not as much on the road. They're 7-1 at home. They're really good there. On the road, they're about the opposite. They're about 2-5 or 2-6. So they're not good on the road. They're just not a good traveling team. I think that continues. Saskatchewan will want to clinch second place even if Calgary wins. And if Calgary loses, Saskatchewan wants that division title. So I will take Saskatchewan. Then we got the throwaway game. But it's not a throwaway game. This is a game for other players to really show what they can do. You're playing for pride at this point, but you got Toronto at Montreal. I guess Manziel didn't get to throw the last Hail Mary at the end of the game. They pulled him for Pipkin. I'm convinced that Shermer is just not that good of a coach, or Sherman. I'm convinced that he's just not that good of a coach. He wasn't a very good coach in the NFL. He's a good coordinator, but I'm convinced this guy can't coach. He's too quick on the trigger to pull quarterbacks and put them in and pull them out. And you got a guy like Manziel, let him huck it. Why pull in Pipkin? Why put Manziel in that situation that you got to ding his confidence a little bit? What, he can't throw the ball as far as Pipkin? Manziel, it still resulted in a sack. Pipkin got sacked on that last play, according to what I got from that game. So Toronto's at Montreal. Every time I pick Montreal to win, they don't. But I'm going to continue to try to pick Montreal. I am going to pick Montreal at home to win. Even though there's a little bit of discord, and Franklin played pretty well last week, and Toronto's playing a little bit better than Montreal, I don't think that says much. I think Montreal wants to win this game on pride. And I think Manziel wants to prove something, and I think that the game was close last week. So it was close in Toronto, it'll be close in Montreal, and I think Montreal pulls this off. Game has no bearing on any playoff positioning at all. But I do like Montreal to get this game. So we have a Calgary at Winnipeg. I'm taking Winnipeg. They're favored by 3.5. I don't know if they'll win by 3.5 or more. But if I had to go to Vegas and bet this, I'd probably take Winnipeg in the 3.5. I think Winnipeg might get this by 5. Ottawa at Hamilton. I think Hamilton is going to struggle in this game. I really do. I see Ottawa clinching the division today. I know Hamilton's getting 4.5, but when you lose your best wide receiver, you lose your biggest weapon. Masoli needs that guy. I mean, maybe some of the other guys can step up and June Jones will find a way. He's a creative offensive mind. He really is. So maybe he finds a way to stave off elimination, and this goes to next week to see who's going to win this division. But I'm going to take Ottawa in this game to clinch it and move forward. BC at Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's getting 4. I think that's a pretty good number. I'd take Saskatchewan. And then Toronto at Montreal. I'll take Montreal in the 3. Although I think it'd be closer. I don't think I'd bet the 3. I think it'll be a 1 or 2 point game. I think this is another one of those games that somebody's going to have a chance to win this thing at the end. So we'll see what happens. So let me know what you think about the playoff picture. Is it completely just clouded and just, whoa, what is everybody doing? It's like, somebody tell me something. It's like how BC is behind Winnipeg, but they've clinched a playoff spot over. I think it just has to do with the Edmonton thing. They've taken 2 out of 3 from Edmonton. So I think it's because the worst that BC can finish is 9-9. The best Edmonton can finish is 9-9, and BC has the head-to-heads. But potentially, BC could have a worse division record. They could be 4-6 in the division. Edmonton would be 5-5. So division record doesn't matter as much as head-to-head. But when you play 3 games against each other, I mean, it's kind of cool. You play 3 games against each other. You don't have those unless you go 1-1-1. You don't have as much of a mystery of who should be where. Because if you take 2 out of 3, you were better than them 2 times out of 3. Not fair maybe that somebody gets 2 home games over 1 home game, but I still like the system. I do. So it's getting exciting, kids. We could see a lot more stuff solved after this week. This is what I'm kind of saying. It's just like we could see a lot more. If Calgary wins, they'll clinch the division. If Winnipeg wins, they get the last playoff spot and basically eliminate Edmonton. If Ottawa wins, they'll clinch their division. So a lot of stuff could get solved in this week. But of course, if Winnipeg wins and beats Calgary, then the division is still up for grabs. If Saskatchewan wins, and if if Hamilton beats Ottawa, it's still up in the air in that division too. So it's still exciting, folks. I mean, we could still have a huge shakeup, and this could all go down to the last week on who gets those final playoff spots and the final playoff positioning. I'm telling you, it's exciting sight. It's just good stuff. It's good stuff. The CFL is producing one hell of a finish to their season. And with all that being said, to the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.